At the tail end of 40k's 9th edition, Lionel Johnson, the Primarch of the Dark Angels, returned to the setting, becoming the second loyalist Primarch to do so, both in the narrative and on tabletop. And this got a lot of people excited. Some people wanted to see how he played on tabletop, others were excited for the potential storyline implications, and some people just wanted a nice new model to paint, which is perfectly valid. Now, I've made it no secret that I've never been a big fan of the loyalist Primarchs returning, because I feel it kinda diminishes their mystique, and overall I feel it diminishes the impact of Gilman's own return, because Gilman returning was a massive deal. But I've always felt like having more loyalist Primarchs come back would be detrimental in terms of, how big a deal it is, for lack of a better term. But I was willing to concede that if they had to bring another loyalist Primarch back, Lionel Johnson did at least make some degree of sense, because he was always established as the sole loyalist Primarch to be explicitly confirmed to still be alive. No vague implication, explicitly outright confirmed. Ever since 2nd edition, he was outright confirmed to still be alive. But the question I want to ask everyone today is, did his return actually live up to the hype, or was it just a massive waste of time? Now, a few weeks ago, I actually put a poll up on Twitter asking everyone's views about it, and the results were kind of surprising, in all honesty, because 41% of people who voted, bear in mind we had about 773 people who voted in this, 41% thought his return was great. But a slim majority, at 44.6%, thought his return was kinda underwhelming, with a further 8.7% feeling that his return was completely wasted. Now, going through the comments, some of the people seem to have actually liked his actual return, like the actual return itself. They thought it was fine. It's just that everything he's done post-return has either been underwhelming or just non-existent. Now, bear in mind, we're still in the early days of 10th edition. We're probably only about like a third of the way through, maybe halfway, depending upon how short this edition will be. So there is certainly a chance that Games Workshop may actually do something with Lion. But as it currently stands, let's compare what Lion's done since his return with what Gilman did in a similar time frame. So at the tail end of 7th edition, when Gilman came back, he led the events of the Terran Crusade, he fought Magnus the Red upon Luna, he may or may not have fought in the defense of the Imperial Palace during the Second Siege of Terra, it depends on the source. He met with the Emperor, and depending on source, may or may not have gotten the Emperor's sword at the same time. And then during the early days of 8th, he revealed the Primaris contingency plan, he oversaw a reformation of the High Lords of Terra, he launched the Indomitus Crusade, he came to the aid of the Blood Angels during the devastation of Baal, he appointed Commander Dante of the Blood Angels as Warden of Imperium Nihilus, which in turn made Dante the second most powerful person in the entire Imperium from a political standpoint, and then he also fought in the events of the Plague Wars, which resulted in him kicking the shit out of Mortarion. Now yes, I know that Godblight came out during 9th edition, but due to 8th edition's time skip, we actually knew the results of the Plague Wars prior to this, so there you go. Now in 9th edition, when Lionel Johnson came back, he came to the Imperium's aid during the Arcs of Omen campaign, in where he beat the ever-loving shit out of Angron. Fantastic start, strong start. He allowed some members of the Fallen to be redeemed into the Risen, and oversaw the introduction of the Inner Circle Guardians into the ranks of the Unforgiven. Okay, yeah, fair enough. And that's it. He hasn't really done anything of note ever since, like no major campaigns, no big battles, apparently he's hunting monsters, but we don't really know what else he's been doing. He's not even met up with Gilman to my knowledge either, which is a massive missed opportunity from a storytelling perspective. You'd think that Lion, after learning that Gilman was also back, would want to actually meet with his brother, like, hey brother, how you doing, kind of thing, compare what's been going on, or team up for a crusade or something, I don't know what, but something at least, It seems like it's been a massive dropped ball. Cause let's compare how 8th edition followed on from Gilman's return with how 10th edition followed on from Lion's. So with 8th edition, the whole focus was on, the whole Ultramarines versus Death Guard. That was the primary, conflict. The events of the Plague Wars and all that. That was the main focus, and Gilman, in the Indomitus Crusade, that was also a big focus. And you'd think that with the return of the Lion in 9th edition, that 10th would have also been focusing on him in a similar manner. Like, I know maybe have Lion trying to track down, Vashdor after Vashdor had stolen the, oh god, how do you pronounce it? The Tucholcha or Tucholka, that massive supercomputer at the heart of the rock. Or at the very least, follow up on the whole Luther storyline that was set up in 8th, when Luther actually escaped from the rock, thanks to the efforts of the demon prince Marbus. You think that Azrael may have told Lion hey, we still had Luther here and now he's escaped. The story potential from that alone is huge, Lion and Luther, the two best friends, two former brothers, coming to blows once again. But no, 10th edition decided to focus on the threat posed by High Fleet Leviathan, which was, hinted at the tail end of 7th edition with the whole lead up into the devastation of Baal. Now again, as I mentioned earlier, we're still in the early days of 10th, so there is a possibility that Lion may become, more of a focus down the line. But as it currently stands, it feels like Lion's return was just done to, for lack of a better term, pop a rating. Pop the stock prices, if you were. Here's a Primarch. Okay, we're gonna do nothing with him. Oh well, never fucking mind. I'm hoping I'm proved wrong. I'm hoping I'm proved wrong, but currently, it's just... it feels like Lion was just brought back. I mean, yes, I know that the novel detailing his return does go into more detail regarding certain things, like some of the things he did, but that was pre-Arcs of Omen, so at the end of the day, the events of that novel are relatively inconsequential overall, aside from oh, this is where he got his sword, this is where he got the Emperor's shield, this is how he's able to move from planet to planet, this is him collecting the Fallen, who will become the Risen, this is how he met Commander Dante, leading up into Arcs of Omen, but it also left off with the stinger of hey, Gilman's still alive as well, I should meet him, and they never did, they never followed up on that. I'm not asking for a full novel in regards to Gilman and Lion meeting up. I'd be happy with just a short story or just an acknowledgement in a codex, a short blurb hey, Gilman and Lion met during this moment and then they went their separate ways. That's all I'm asking for. Just an acknowledgement. That's all. But if this is how they're treating Lionel Johnson, I'm genuinely concerned about what might happen if they decide to bring another Primarch back. Let's say they bring back Jagatai Khan from Komorra. Let's say that happens. He comes back, he fights some Drukhari in a one-off campaign book, and then just fucks off and does absolutely nothing. Because there is a growing problem with Games Workshop storytelling, in that they'll introduce a plot thread and never follow up on it. We had this situation with the Inari, because the Inari was a massive plot point at the tail end of 7th, leading into Gilliman's return. They had a minor push in 8th with the first two Rise of the Inari novels, which have since been cancelled, so we're never going to get a culmination to that story, I feel. I mean, to be honest, I was just, thankful that they got a look in the Lilith Hesprax novel. Holy shit, the Inari plotline still carries on. It's limping on. And I mean limping on. But I'm digressing here. My point is, I'm hoping that because we're still in the early days of Lionel Johnson's return, and still in the early days of 10th edition, Lion may eventually get more of a focus down the line. But considering that his return was hyped up in such a big way, he played a pivotal role in the end of the Arcs of Omen campaign, for instance, and then they did absolutely nothing with him in the next edition so far, it's what's the point? Genuinely, what is the point of bringing Lion back just to pop a rating? Well, I know exactly the reason it's to pop a rating, it's to pop the stock prices and all that. I'm being very cynical, I know, and I'm rambling. This is unscripted, as the disclaimer at the start said, but anyway. It just seems like Lion's role in the story could have gone to literally anyone else. It could have gone to Gilman for all the good it's done. It could have just gone to Gilman. Yeah, I have to say, so far, if we ended 10th edition today, then yeah, absolutely. I would have to say not only was Lion's return a waste, it was utterly fucking pointless. But those are just my own unfocused thoughts on the matter, so I'd like to hear what you guys think, so leave a comment down below with if you feel like Lion's Return was wasted or what you would do to improve it. I'd like to hear your thoughts, because I think the best course of action from a storyline perspective currently is to do Lion Luthor 2. I mean, I know some people are absolutely sick of the whole Fallen plotline, regarding the Dark Angels and the Unforgiven, because that's all that the Dark Angels ever do from every single fucking edition, and I get it, I understand completely. But we now actually have a chance to bring that storyline to a definitive conclusion. We have a chance to bring one of the longest running plot points in 40k history to a close, and I think Games Workshop may actually be scared to do so because they don't know what to do next regarding, the Dark Angels. What do we do with the Dark Angels if they're not hunting the Fallen, And yeah, that will actually, require some, effort on the writer's part. I'm not saying the writers are lazy, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not, vilifying anyone in this regard. I'm just saying that there is a chance now for the Dark Angels to open up a brand new chapter of storytelling, which is an exciting prospect, albeit one that is, how exactly do we go about doing so? But that's an altogether different matter. But yeah, those are just my thoughts. So, until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.